So because we're staying in an apartment, we have some time to work on a few modifications on the van. I thought I'd take this opportunity to finally finish that relay and explain that system. We've also got some new cup holders. I thought that was a cool mod. I'm a huge cyclist, so for me, having bicycle bottle holders right up there in the front is gonna be really cool. Other recent purchases are, got one of these foldable saws. I'm gonna try that out, let you know how that works. We had a hatchet from before, which I've used a few times and I love. Lastly, we got a portable compressor / emergency kit. Compressor has a PSI gauge, which is really handy for me on my bikes. It's also got this little lamp, just right here, with a mounting hardware. I might actually mount this somewhere else in the van permanently because it's really cool. Like, I really like this. Anyway, we'll figure that out. That's our current situation. So what I'm using to charge the system is actually pretty simple. I had thought about using solenoids before, but they fail a lot. These, on the other hand, are dead simple. These are automotive relays. This particular one is 40 amps. It runs at 12 to 14 volts. And it plugs in, and what happens is a feed from my ignition goes through on one side, it comes out the other, and that creates a coil which closes another circuit, and that circuit is a much higher amperage. That's the 40 amp circuit. While the vehicle is running, the ignition is going to click over, close this circuit, and connect the front battery to the back battery, and so the alternator will charge both the front battery and the back battery. They run this system in a lot of Volkswagen setups, and it seems to work pretty well. I was hesitant at first because I didn't want to connect the two electrical systems. I am worried about that. But at the end of the day, if it works for Volkswagens and they break down all the time and it hasn't messed with their system enough for them to change it, well then it's going to work on a Dodge. The positive lead of the battery to this to my heat breaker, my breaker to the battery at the back. Now the breaker, what it does is it keeps the amperage down low at 20 amps. If it tries to pull over 20 amps, cuts the connection, and then once it's cooled down again, it'll close the connection again and run it and it continue charging. So the idea is that if it tries to draw too much power from the alternator or from the electrical system up here, it will shut down the charging circuit. Hopefully this keeps my system in good health. I figure a 20 amp draw is a fair bit, but not so much that it's going to kill the system. So this is my thinking. We'll see if it works. Now, the important lesson to learn is I actually had one of these relays left over from my security system, my GPS tracker in the van. So I actually had another relay left over from another project, but it uses the 87A terminal instead of the 87 terminal, and that means that the circuit is always on, and when it gets a current, it turns off. So it actually works in reverse as to how the relay that I bought works. So what would happen if I plugged that one in is that it would only charge the back batteries off the front batteries when the car was off. Basically the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. Alright, this will be the first time I'm firing up the car with the relay connected. If you can't tell, I'm a little nervous. Alright, charging relay on the solar panel back there is 13.4 volts. I expect that to jump up a little bit. When I tested the solar panel charging alongside of the ground battery charger, plug-in battery charger, I found that the solar panel's charging voltage just rose up a little bit and kept in pace with the other charging units, so they worked in tandem, which I was very concerned about. But hey, it worked out fine, so hopefully it'll work out fine with an alternator. Let's find out. Butterflies in my stomach. Alright, here goes nothing. Alright, charging voltage holding steady. Alright. Charging, voltage holding steady. Fired up slow, but in the cold it seems to always fire up slow. I'm gonna get an oil change and switch the oil up to something a little bit lighter just for this next stretch of the trip, just to hopefully fix that. But let's check back here. 13.4. Oh, it hasn't changed. Okay, well, I mean, it is only charging like 1.2 amps, so maybe that means it's just... I don't even know if it's working, to be honest. It seems everything's running so normal. It's running exactly the way it normally runs. Seems to be running all right. Again, let's check that voltage. Yeah, that's pretty normal. There's a couple tiny things that eat up my battery, my car battery, while it's sitting around and hasn't been started in 3 days. So I expected the voltage to be charging voltage for a little while, even at idle. Man, it is cold here. Check out that. That is cold. All right, there we go. 14.6 volts, 14.5. Solar panel is finally picking up the voltage that the alternator is dropping. That looks about right. I'm gonna check the gauge up front. Gauge is still where it needs to be. Okay. All right, so it appears we are officially charging. I don't know why this makes me so nervous. I do know why. Like all those months of freezing my fingers off and fixing electronic problems, yeah, it worries me. But the engine's running perfectly right now. And the alternator's charging perfectly. I mean, there's no way to know until I'm out on the road and testing it, and I mean, I'm gonna push it and either the alternator's gonna break or it's not gonna break. But I think that's a success. Yeah, all right. Champ, are you excited? You had a good time? Oh boy. Oh, so exciting.